2023 has been an astounding year for Flesh and Blood competitive play. It now seems like every weekend there's a Battle Hardened, a PTI, a RTN, or a Calling somewhere around the world. Flesh and Blood's competitive play scene is alive and growing, moving from 1 million to 1.5 million next year. This year, the Classic Constructed format saw 4 heroes reach Living Legend Ascension. More importantly, the sun has finally set on Aria, with all 3 heroes from that set and Iyslander, who, let's be honest, was a carryover, now retired as well. So today we're covering the best performing heroes of 2023 and then, briefly, looking forward to 2024.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Hello there, my Flesh and Blood friends, and welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. As we close in on the end of 2023, I want to look back at the game from this year. Now, while competitive play isn't the end-all in Flesh and Blood, as highlighted by the release this year of the social gaming-focused UPF product with the Professor, the top-tier event results certainly drive the discussion, and the trickle-down from the top events certainly have impact even at the kitchen table. From being a relatively slow and ice-dominated classic constructed meta for the first half of the year, to evolving into a Lexi-heavy, pretty stagnant meta mid-year, and then closing out with one of the most open and healthy metas the game has ever seen, this year was a whirlwind for the CC format. Out of all of that 5.5 heroes demonstrated dominance in the classic constructed format this year. The top 5 heroes combined to bring home 67% of this year's LL points. That's right, 67%. So today we're looking at the top performing heroes in the CC format from this last year, and then we'll chat a bit about what we may be expecting in early 2024. Lexi, the Elemental Ranger, was the biggest winner of 2023. Lexi took home 1,064 points this year, making essentially an entire LL run in only a portion of the year. Picking up some extremely strong cards and outsiders with major on-hit arrow pickups and, of course, the notorious Codex of Frailty, Lexi was able to combine these new toys with her old staples like 3 of a Kind and Rain Razors to absolutely terrorize the meta. With some of the more controlly heroes out of the way, combined with her new toys, Lexi was able to take a dominant position in the meta, which she held for a long time. Largely eschewing her elemental cards, it was her trusty Bow Voltaire allowing either dual Go Again or goes with a bonus, or both of course on a Boltyn shot, all while threatening on hits. Of the few elemental cards she did use, they could nearly shut down an opponent's turn with Frosty Ice. Lexi also triggered the banning of Bullseye's Bracers, a card which had long been considered a Ranger staple. This was, thankfully, eventually walked back to being a suspension, but regardless was but a stone in the highway to Lexi's success. Her long period of dominance, again 1,000 plus points worth during the year and just shy of 20% of this year's points, exhausted a good portion of the competitive player base. Her ascension to LL was cheered by many, but not before she left her mark on the game for this year. At least one hero on today's list performed well primarily because of the strong matchup into Lexi. Oldhim has always had his control-focused following, but it wasn't until the ascension of Prism that he was really able to start doing his thing. Coming in just shy of the halfway mark to close out 2022, he finished 2023 in LL status earning 688 points within the first few months of this year. Even the banning of his trusty Ice Hammer was not enough to slow his ascent. Oldhim is dead, they all cried, only to find out that Crown, D-React, Rinse, Wash, Repeat was really all that Cranky Grandpa needed to put the rest of the world to sleep, while smelly neckbeards basked in their own superiority and their smells. His LL rotation was, perhaps, the most notable one of the year. The vast majority of the community was extremely happy to see him go, but his fanboys cried and threw hissy fits while the rest of the community was happy to once again be able to play a real game of Fab. In third place for 2023 is Iyslander, the Frosty Ice Queen. She earned 620 points during this year, which not only grabbed her the third slot, but also sealed her LL status, in a diving catch so to speak, in December of this year. After winning Worlds in a rather dominant fashion in 2022, Iyslander continued to threaten the top tables, but didn't really pull down all that many points in the early parts of the year. Oldhim had blues and D-Reacts, and later on the other heroes were able to power through the Frostbites. But slow and steady, she continued pulling down the intermittent victories, and ended up with just shy of 12% of this year's points. Iyslander L'd out with a total of 1,012 points, joining a short list of heroes that have LL'd in both of the competitive formats. In 4th place this year is Dromai, the cult favorite Dragon Mommy, who brought home 586 points over the course of the year. A large portion of her success was, in reality, due to meta positioning. She had a strong meta matchup versus the field for a good portion of the year, largely led by a meta built around Lexi. Without tons of multi-attack weapons and consistent popper hits, Dromai was in many situations able to run scot-free into specific heroes. Combined with some very creative alternative builds by Dromai loyalists such as Mara Ferris, additionally into the Dust Till Dawn drop of Tome of Imperial Flame, Dromai had a pretty decent year overall. Sitting in a pretty decent position, ending this year with 628 points, Dromai should be around and impacting the meta for a bit yet to come, but her eyes are certainly on heavy hitters to see how that impacts the classes she often struggles against. In 5th place with a total of 526 points through the year is the Fire Ninja Fi. For context, it is important to note that 300 of his points, over half of his points, came from one single event win, the World Championship. That single win alone netted him 5.6% of this year's total points. Fi saw most of his success in other events at ProQuests, RTNs, and Nationals across the globe as a consistently strong and reliable aggro hero. A couple decent pickups and outsiders boosted him a bit, specifically the 0-3s from the Throwing Dagger package, which helped to bolster his bottom line Blues output. His positioning against Oldhim early in 2023 also helped gain a good number of these points, as he often struggled to compete with Lexi in terms of overall damage output. While he's not currently a super dominant threat, if World showed us anything, it's that underestimating Fi is a certain mistake given his value and the constant pressure he can present. At only 764 total LL points, Fi will be around for at least the next few metas. Now, in the intro, I mentioned 5.5 heroes, and that's because it would be irresponsible to not give attention to OG Dash. While Dash only earned 386 points this year, that represented 7.1% of this year's total points. And the reality of the situation, which is why we're speaking to her here, is that had Fi not pulled down the 300 points with Worlds, Dash would have been securely in 5th place. So yes, while points are points, no recap of the year will be complete without noting this very strong, extremely consistent hero. Recapping this year on the whole, we see a couple of interesting points. While the top 5 heroes represented 67% of the points, 21 different heroes did earn points, at least some, during the year. 13 of those heroes earned greater than 100 points, indicating that, globally, local metas still matter, and still absolutely carry weight regardless of what the big competitive may otherwise dictate. Even heroes such as Riptide, Vincent, Levia, and that's right, even Aracne, pulled down at least some points, granted sparingly, but they did win their events, proving overall that anyone with experience can win with virtually anything in this great game. Looking into 2024, I think it's pretty fair to say that right now, all eyes are on heavy hitters. The meta right now is basically as wide open as it's ever been, which means the change on the horizon come February is certain to carry impact. I believe that Fi will continue to perform well, just with how easy he is to pilot into a general field on really any given day. He may well be the leading aggro hero, at least for now. I also expect ever-present heroes like Dash and Bravo to continue to do well also. In generally open fields, it's those flexible and consistent heroes that tend to pop back into the top tables. And of course, Uzuri, being able to switcheroo into consistent on-hits, seems everlastingly good. And last, let's not forget New Prism. The pending Numenaralis from heavy hitters is almost certain to light, see what I did there, the way. So with 2023's success, it's certain that 2024 will be just as exciting of a year for Flesh and Blood top-tier competitive play. I'll see you all on the tables, whether it be competitive or casual. Thanks for joining, and go Commando.